Aaron Whitlow.
Brandon Spivey, and welcome back to the Markout Movie Podcast.
He did a voice. He did a voice. Welcome to the Markout Movie Podcasters. We today are going to be talking about a 2011 film with a stellar cast, called Cowboys and Aliens. But before we get into that, I wanted to go. We're going to do a little bit of a redux. I want to know Brandon's thoughts because he did see Godzilla X Kong, New Kingdom, and he didn't get the chance to share it. So I want to know his thoughts on that movie.
My thoughts on Godzilla and Kong. I mean, I liked it. I had a really good time watching it. It felt like being a kid again, going to watch, your favorite monsters clash, or in this case, team up once they finally do come across each other. It was fun. It was a fun MonsterVerse film. I know you said that the main villain reminded you of the character. I think you said it in Planet of the Apes, Kobo or something like that.
No, I don't think I said that, but I can see that. I can definitely see that.
Oh, maybe you're not.
I said that.
Someone told me that.
I said it. I said it reminded me of a live action cartoon, which is great. It's a compliment. I mean it as a compliment. It was great.
Yeah, you did say that. I don't know. Maybe it was Cody that told me that. Reminded him of the Planet of the Apes character. But yeah, I don't know. I wish we can get a film where there was zero human characters. Because
I will say that Brian Tyree Henry is my favorite of the human characters in the movie.
Yeah,
he's the Bernie Hayes in here. I like him as an actor, and you could tell he was having fun with the role.
Mm-hmm.
And then also the Trapper guy, I thought he was fun.
Yeah, he was fun.
But I agree with you. Like if we had no human characters at all, it would have been okay. Because like I felt like the way that King Kong communicated, he communicated without words. Like you knew what he meant. You knew what he was saying. You know?
Yeah. You didn't need the human characters, in my opinion. But yeah. I wish we could have got more Godzilla though. I'm glad it was more focused on Kong, but at the same time, still they don't have the timing down right with these characters. Still, like I don't know, it wasn't perfect, but it was a good time. It felt like a summer blockbuster, so I mean it felt good. I had a good time, but
What's your marks for it?
I gave it a 4 out of 5. But it didn't. I wanted to feel like I did in Skull Island. I haven't felt like that since then, but it was a fun time. That's what I would say for the most part.
Skull Island was a 5-star type of film. Like it was it's terrific. Skull Island was.
I had a great time with that. That truly made me feel like I was a kid in a candy store. I was going to the movies for the very first time and seeing something spectacular on the screen, and never seen it before. That's how that movie made me feel in general. So I wish I could feel that again. I do in moments, but not throughout the whole film, because the human characters, they do dumb things. But in this movie, they really didn't do dumb things. It's just I didn't care.
You didn't care. They weren't that interesting.
No.
The only time that human characters, for me, didn't get in the way, and I'm gonna be honest, because I like Skull Island more than I like Peter Jackson's King Kong. I didn't like that one as much, and I didn't like the human characters really in that either. But I'm not gonna lie, the Godzilla movie, the 2000 something with Matthew Broderick, I enjoyed the human characters in that movie. You know, Godzilla wasn't. I mean, for its time, it was fun. For its time, for me, it was fun. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna crap on it like it wasn't a fun time. It was. It's the thing about being outside. But uh, but uh, but also, I would say with Godzilla minus one, I enjoyed the human characters in that.
Yeah, I mean that's by far the best Godzilla film I've seen. Um, you know, that's a real movie. This is like popcorn, but that one's a real movie. So
Yeah.
they're very different. Um, not even fair to compare, you know.
No.
But
No. No.
this one was fun. I mean, I had a good time, and I don't know. I'm looking forward to what the future brings. I know the TV show's getting a second season. It's going to get a spinoff. I haven't seen it, so I don't really know much about it. But I'm just looking forward to what's coming.
The Monarch show.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And then before we move to our actual review, I want to. I did get to watch Civil War, the 2024 film. It's rated R. It's an hour and 49 minutes. Has Kirsten Dunst, who is making. I would say this is her reintroduction back into to cinema. Kirsten has been making films since she was a little kid. And most famously, I would say, would you say her most famous role would be Interview with a Vampire, or would it be Bring It On? Would that be her most famous?
I mean, for me personally, it's Spider-Man, but
oh yeah, Mary Jane. I forget that she's Mary Jane. Yeah, that was the most interesting, or one of the most interesting roles. But yeah, it has her in it, Wagner Mora, and then Kaylee Spiney, and then Nick Offerman. Yeah, I love Nick Offerman. I laugh when I see him. I just like Nick. And some other people in it as well. Stephen McKinley Henderson. But yeah, it's about a journalist that's going across the new United States that is in the middle of a civil war that's battling, and they're just telling the story of what they're seeing. Like non-biased. It's not about being on any specific sides or who's right or who's wrong, how it started. Just telling the stories of war and the civil war that's now in the United States. And there's different militia. I thought it was a interesting time. It's not a perfect movie, although people that love A24 would make it a perfect film. But it's not perfect. But I thought it was interesting. It's not like you had to go in there and watch it journalistically and not like it's not like King Kong and Godzilla. It's not fun. Nothing fun about the movie. And I've seen many people say this. It's something that they'll only watch once, and I can agree with it. But I liked it, but I can only watch once. It's made by the same guy that did 28 Days Later, Ex Machina, and Men or whatever, that movie. I didn't watch that.
Yeah, I did. I didn't like it.
Personally. Yeah, I'm not big on 28 Days, period. 28 Days or 28 Days Later. I wasn't one of those people that's like, oh, this is great. I didn't like it. But also, I did like Ex Machina. I thought that was good.
I haven't seen that one.
Yeah. But, here comes the motorcycle now again. The guy on the motorcycle kind of looks like John Singleton, but it's not because John Singleton is dead. Okay. But yeah, I just want to share my quick thoughts on that. I give it, I say 3.5 mark out of 5.
3.5.
I felt like, yeah, well, on Letterboxd I gave it 4, I think. Why did it go down? Because it's very heavy and it kind of sticks with you a little bit. That's why. It's not bad. But if you view it from in the lens of like from working in journalism, like I worked in journalism a little bit, it's different. But
Yeah.
there's a there's a scene in it is absolutely terrifying, and Jesse Plemons, who's actually married to Kristen Dunst. I didn't know that. Um, he's in this. He's in the movie. It's in the trailer. That man is that man's an absolutely awesome actor, and he is also he's very terrifying. He's very believable as a psychopath. Very believable.
Very.
Have you ever seen him in anything where he plays the villain? Jesse Plemons?
Um.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. I mean, not like a main bad guy, but yeah, I've seen him where he's like a gangster or a son of a gangster.
Mm-hmm.
But nothing that truly stands out where he just was a very cruel man or anything.
Oh, so he's in. You've never seen it? Breaking Bad. He's in Breaking Bad.
Yeah, never seen it.
He is one of the most terrifying characters in the history of television. Uh, just just a psychopath, and is just like nonchalant about everything, nonchalant about murder. Just like it's just like he's so good at that, and it scares me. Who. I wonder about his own mental health. you know, yeah. But yeah, with that out the way, anything you want to discuss before we get to the meat and potatoes?
No, I don't. I don't have anything.
All righty, here we go. As soon as I find it, Cowboys and Aliens. Uh, this movie came out in 2011. Uh, and oh shoot, it stars. Who's the star, Brandon?
It stars
I got
Daniel Craig,
Daniel
Harrison
Craig.
Ford.
Harrison Ford. Olivia Wilde, who's now she's now a director as well. So, uh, and a couple other people to mention. Uh, let's see, Clancy Brown, the
Hmm.
legendary Clancy Brown, Paul Dano, uh, Adam Beach, Sam Rockwell, uh, uh,
Don't forget Walton.
yeah, I was trying to find him.
Hmm.
And then Wyatt Russell was in here briefly. I thought it was him, uh, but he gets blown up, so you don't see him long. Did you notice him at all?
I did not. I did not.
What's the Walton? What's his name?
I don't know his character's name. He's not in it very long.
Walton Goggins. Walton Goggins. Hunt. Um, well, this movie is about a spaceship that arrives in 1873 Arizona to take over the Earth, starting with the Wild West region. All that stands in their way is a posse of cowboys and natives. Um, this movie's PG-13, uh, and it was I think it was considered a flop.
Yeah,
Uh,
it flopped.
but Brandon, I had fun with it. I had fun watching this movie.
I'm glad you did.
I guess you did. I guess you didn't.
I loved it when it first came out, but every time I've watched it since, it just it's not. It gets less desirable.
What is it for you that gets that gets less desirable?
The aliens.
The bad CGI.
No, it's just the story of the aliens invading this western town. Here's my problem. It's a great setup. I love the first act. It sets up these characters nice. This mystery, Daniel Craig's arm. What's on this arm? What's this device he has? It's a nice setup. I just think once the aliens actually attack, it just becomes a different movie than what they were setting up. And to me, it's Independence Day done poorly in the Wild Wild West. That's how I would describe it. But if
Yeah.
you take the alien aspect away, the Western aspect is great. Like I was enjoying these characters. I was enjoying the town. I was looking forward to Harrison Ford meeting up with Daniel Craig in its own way instead of the alien backdrop. But I think the alien aspect ruins it for me every time. Like I'm not going to give it like a terrible score, like some people will. Like there's still enjoyment from the movie. It's just I gave this like 5 stars when it first came out, and it's dropped a couple stars
Well, for
for
me,
me.
I would say that personally, I love this mysterious character of Jake Lonergan, Daniel
Mm-hmm.
Craig,
Yeah,
waking up with amnesia, not knowing who he is, not knowing why this devices are his hands, but he knows that he can take care of himself, like fight or whatever. He knows
yeah,
he does that. Um, and and then him, getting like going into town and and running into Clancy Brown's character, uh, and just like you said, that town felt lived in. It felt like I ain't gonna lie, I want to spend more time in the town.
yeah,
That's the vibe I get. I was like, ooh, I want to be around these people. I want to, and it has a great cast with Sam Rockwell and everyone just kind of complements each other well. Um,
they do,
but
they do.
but I think that I could comparisons to Independence Day because it definitely gives off an Independence Day type of vibe when it comes to the like he shoots down the ship and then discovering what the aliens look like and stuff like that and the little arms. I can
Yeah,
see Independence Day. Independence Day influenced this movie pretty
yeah,
hard. But I think it's a cool idea of a cowboy, a western
yeah.
mixed with science fiction like aliens.
Yeah, I
It,
think it's a great concept. I do. I think it's a good concept. I just think they did such a good job with the first act setting this whole thing up. I just think everything felt rushed after that. Once we
yeah,
meet the
the
aliens, it just
Indian
feels
felt very
rushed.
rushed. The Indian felt very rushed. I felt
Yeah.
like that.
I thought this would have worked better as a TV show myself. They could
Mm.
have slowly built it up. And, I think, I mean, I think there's a story there. I just don't think it was executed properly.
Mm. Yeah, and the alien design is interesting as well. Like the aliens kind of run on all fours if they want to.
Yeah.
They outwardly their skin is armor, but they're like inwardly there's the I don't know if the outward is just the armor like a suit, like an exoskeleton suit, and the real them is on the inside because there's like little tiny hands and things like that. Uh, but but they also can bite with the exoskeleton suit. Um, but they were that's an interesting design, but it doesn't look as good honestly, and it's sad to say, but it doesn't look as good as Aliens that was done in the '90s with Independence Day. It's crazy to think that all these years later, it felt like okay, we just feel like you gotta go ahead and hurry up and get it out. But what I loved about the movie is the human characters.
Yeah.
Like I wanted more of them. Like Harrison Ford in a western works well. I love it. I love him as his old, general or commander or whatever, colonel or whatever, and of I guess the Civil War is what he is colonel of, and I love Daniel Craig, his mysteriousness, and when he shoots with the bangle thing,
Mm-hmm.
the bracelet, it just and other characters in there. Like when Walton pops up, I was like, man, I was so excited to see him because it was a guy in here earlier. I thought was him. I was like, is that Walton Goggins? Well, I didn't say Walton Goggins, but I thought, is that him? But
Yeah.
it wasn't. But yeah,
Yeah, that's like you don't really get to spend much time with that aspect of the story. Who you found you when you found out who he was and what happened to him, and they didn't really get that much time to spend with Walton and that gang. It just felt rushed. Everything just kind of felt rushed at that point. Like we got to get to the finish line. We got to get to killing these aliens. Yeah, that fight. We've set up so much, but we don't really have time for it. It's how it felt watching it. But I agree with you. The human characters is what is so likable about this movie because they all work. Like I felt everybody had something to do. You cared about the characters. Even the preacher, Clancy Brown. I love Clancy. I've always thought a lot of his work. Man, when he bites it's like air went out of the room. It's like he was such a truly lovable guy in this movie. I loved him. And I like what he says to Sam Rockwell because Sam's character doesn't really have much faith in God. He says, I don't remember the exact line, but it was basically saying, do you expect God to do everything for you? You got to put in some work too. I love his mindset. He was probably my favorite character, but this was the movie that sold me on Daniel Craig as an actor. I wasn't a big fan of his at the time. I know he was like fresh off of Bond, but I didn't believe him as Bond. But I really had this movie made me a fan of his. And I agree with you, Harrison Ford in a Western, that it works.
Yeah, Clancy Brown. He is. I immediately think of Pet Cemetery.
Yeah,
Pet Cemetery 2.
Yep. The sequel.
Like he's literally the best part of that movie.
Yeah, he's the only good part.
yeah, literally. Oh, there's a bumblebee over me. But yeah, he's him in this movie. He was he like like you said, when he got killed, it just took the air out. You just felt like you felt like, man, I can't believe they killed him off. But because he was like, you wanted to see him. You wanted to see him interacting with Harrison Ford and stuff. Because like these two veteran actors, Harrison Ford is in a different class, but they are both veteran actors. And same with he's in the movie as the sheriff. Keith
Carradine, yeah.
Keith Carradine, yeah. He's in this movie, and that's another thing that I would say that I don't like about the movie because you had him and Paul Dano and a couple other people in the movie, but you didn't see them because they were kidnapped, and you don't. It's a rescue mission. It's like people forced to work together to take on this one enemy, But I wanted to see over there. I wanted to see Paul Dano, who knew he was going to go on to be such a big actor,
Yeah, that was crazy. The only character I didn't really care for was actually Olivia's.
Olivia Wilde.
Yeah, I didn't feel the connection. Not that she was bad in the movie or anything. I just didn't feel the connection to her character. So I don't know. Maybe it's the fact that maybe she's the one that really didn't have a lot to do, but she had like the biggest mystery of them all. So, it was an interesting film though. Revisiting it really was. It was interesting, but I just felt like they rushed it.
Yeah, I can feel that. Like, you know what I think what they wanted was they wanted to be successful enough to have a sequel. Because it's you believe she blew up. Clearly, she blew up, but she can come back, maybe regenerate. I don't know.
Hmm.
Uh, and so that he's going out and he's going to search for her, but I don't know. I I don't know. It's probably better that it was a one and done type of thing because this movie exists, and maybe there's people that will get to see it who will appreciate it and like it. Uh, but it does have its flaws, like you said.
I
Totally.
think people really will like the Western aspect to it. If you're into Westerns, that, like that, like I said, that first act sets it up nicely, sets that world up, sets that town up, sets these characters up. I mean, you look forward to the interactions with everybody. Like I really love Paul Dano, and Daniel Craig's scene together early on.
Yeah, where he
It's
kind of like beats him up and stuff,
yeah,
like
like he thinks he's such a big deal. It's like you don't know who I am, Mister. And he kicks him in the groin, and he just kind of looks at him and kind of walks off. Uh, and the sheriff pops up because he ends up shooting one of the deputies, and he's just a little cocky little thing that gets off on being Harrison Ford's son. Like that's why I think this would have worked beautifully as a TV show with
mm,
all these characters. Like, I mean, you could still have the alien aspect to it, but you could have really built up the suspense for that.
yeah.
I thought it was a missed opportunity overall, but it is an entertaining movie at the same time. So
Like what you said about it being if it was a television show,
yeah,
that that would have made that would have made that would have made it more believable. The relationship between Harrison Ford and Adam Beach's character, Nate
yeah,
Colorado,
yeah,
the Native American, because like when Nate dies in the movie, you don't really believe. Like Harrison is torn up over it and says, You're like a son to me. You're like a son I never, something like that."
yeah,
But it's not. But you've seen him and heard him say so many rude and mean things, like to this guy,
yeah,
like throughout the whole movie. So that dime, that turn on the dime, is kind of abrupt, and it doesn't make as much sense because you're like, well, you were just now saying these are not your stories. Don't listen to it. This isn't for you. Like this prejudice towards this guy. Uh, and so, yeah, it's like I don't know. Like you said, if it was a TV show, it would have probably fleshed out there more. So when his character dies, we could truly mourn his loss.
yeah, yeah. That's the problem with this movie. They don't, although they do justice by fleshing out certain characters, but certain relationships they do not. And this was one they did not flesh out. Because when Harrison Ford and Adam Beach's characters first interact, you feel like he doesn't really care much for him. Like he's just supposed to protect his son. But deep down, there's a sincere relationship there. He always viewed him more of a son than his own son. He wished his son was more like him, and that really never was brought up into the story until that moment he dies. And it's unfortunate. Like I said, that's why I feel this movie's rushed. Like it didn't hit the notes it was wanting to hit and the
Do you think
emotions it was wanting to hit.
this movie clocks in at just under 2 hours? It's an hour
Yeah,
59. You think that there was a lot more that they left on the cutting room floor, and
I would say
that
so.
yeah, because it felt like there's things in there that weren't as believable. Like not saying not believable, but like the relationship between Harrison Ford and you would have believed it if you seen him, say some type of affirming words towards him, or
Yeah.
or like or I thought that they was gonna reveal that he is his son or something. Like he's half uh Harrison Ford's kid or whatever. I don't know, but I wish that they would have did more with it. Uh, but Olivia Wilde's character, like you mentioned before, I felt like I didn't think she was unnecessary. Uh, but I, I, I think her character is there for plot. So her character is a specific plot device as far as like she's literally there to explain to aliens.
Yeah.
She's there to be sacrificial. That's what her whole purpose was to you know bridge the gap between them not knowing and them knowing what they're there for, and then also to sacrifice herself at the end.
Yeah.
That,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Even her relationship with Daniel Craig it's just not believable. Like they connected that fast. Like I don't know. It's just I don't hate the movie. I think it's an entertaining movie. I just like I said, it just wasn't fleshed out. It was a little bit rushed after the setup. Um and it's just man, that's how I feel about it. But um yeah, her character really that's all she served. She was there to be a plot, or as my son says, plot armor and a sacrificial lamb.
I love that he knows that. Uh,
Oh, it
so
tells me all the time.
so Toby Huss is in this movie as Roy Murphy. He was the guy that Harrison Ford had tied to the horse and slapped the horse and were pulling him off. Uh, he's wildly he's known mainly from American Horror Story, being in that show in some of the seasons. But the guy that he was talking to on the banks before he was about to go and take a poop in the water, uh, which is gross. He's gonna take a poop in the water. Uh, that was Wyatt Russell,
Oh,
little Mickey that he's talking to.
yeah.
Uh, because like I looked at him and I was like, "Is that Wyatt Russell?" And I was about to geek out. I was like, "Oh man, Wyatt Russell's in this movie," and I think he's gonna be in it more. I was like, "It's cool, to see a young Wyatt Russell in something that I seen before. I had no idea he was in." But I also hated that but they don't know. They didn't know who they. I guess they knew that they had Kurt Russell's kid.
Yeah, they knew
But
that.
but 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 I wish that they would have used Kurt Russell's kid a little bit more. Uh, you know what I mean? Like I would have loved to see him interacting with Harrison Ford. Um,
Yeah.
has Kurt and Harrison Ford done anything together?
I don't recall them ever being anything together. Not to
Yeah,
say they haven't.
that'd be a cool thing to see. Maybe it's too late. Maybe I don't know. It's never. I can't say it's never. It's never too late. They can do.
Never too late. No,
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I mean, I liked Harrison Ford's character because at certain points you don't know if he's a good guy, if he's a bad guy. Once the aliens come, it doesn't matter if these people are good or bad. Anyway, they got to work together. But I feel like they didn't even scratch the surface with his character.
Yeah, they didn't really dive into him at all.
I think that was a letdown. But the scenes he does have, he steals everything he's in. Like he's Harrison freaking Ford. Like you love to see it. You love to see it. And I did love his interactions with Daniel Craig. They were fun, but I just felt like, man, this movie was an hour and 59 minutes, and this felt like a comic book movie, right? You would agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay, so most of these comic book movies, especially early on, were like 2.5 hours. I felt this movie should have been around there, and I think it would have been fleshed out. I think it would have been a great time, but for whatever reason, it got cut short, which I think hurt the movie.
Yeah, I agree. Harrison Ford, like Daniel, I want to say this. First, let me say about Harrison. Harrison Ford, you can see why he's a star. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like he's so compelling. Like you literally can watch a movie. Like you just watch. Like imagine a true. Like imagine if this was a real western starring Harrison Ford as this old villainous or ambiguously villain. He's not so much a villain as he's stern.
yeah,
He's very stern. He's doing it, and he feels like his character feels like he's doing the right thing. He feels like the town wouldn't be around if it wasn't for him and his business, what he
yeah.
does. Now his son uh, abuses that aspect,
Oh, definitely.
and because of who my dad is, I can do whatever, which is not the right way to look at it. Um, but he feels like, well, if I'm here, I love this town. I'm saving this town. Um, uh, but but he's not loved in the town. He's viewed as like a villain,
Yeah,
the
he's
outsider.
feared. He's
He's
feared.
he's feared, yeah, absolutely. And then you have Daniel Craig's character, who is an actual villain, but don't remember that he's a villain. But this town is viewing him as a hero,
Yeah,
uh, but he's now a hero because of his amnesia and stuff. But he's gonna do the right thing and not gonna. Uh, I don't know. I don't. I won't say that will he do the right thing. Like because like he stood by while they picked on Sam Rockwell, and he
yeah,
probably wouldn't have interjected himself until they kind of went to him and started with him. Then he got into it.
yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, he's not really. He's kind of that loner that just wants to be left alone. He doesn't want to get involved with anyone else. And this is before he knows who he is as well. So he doesn't want trouble because he doesn't know what's going on. He doesn't know who he is. He just want to figure that out, and he doesn't want to get involved in other people's affairs. But of course, just like any other Western, problems seem to find the hero that doesn't want to be a hero. But yeah, I mean, it felt like a real Western at this point, though. And I love Sam Rockwell's character, though. Well, I love Sam. He's just fantastic, and no matter what he does. Uh, but his character had growth,
Mm-hmm.
throughout the whole movie. So, I love how he kind of interjects though at the beginning with Harrison Ford's son,
Mm-hmm.
and then he kind of backs off, kind of cowards back a little. I love that, but about the end of it, man, he's up there shooting the aliens, and he's he's one of the boys by the end.
Yeah.
He grew a pair.
Yeah. Sam Rockwell is. I would say if we had to make a list of
Yeah,
your top um, actors, there's a B that came in my face. Uh, uh, if we had to make a list of top, I guess character actors, because he's a character actor, right?
yeah, yeah. I would say I would put him in that category.
Uh, if you had to make a list, he'll definitely if it's the top 20, he'll be in my top 20 for sure. I would venture to even say top maybe top 10. Because I just love Sam. I love whenever he pops up in things. I'm there for it because
Yeah,
he's gonna give his all, whatever
yeah.
role he's playing. He's gonna commit.
I've never seen him give a bad performance. I've seen him in bad movies, but I've never seen him give an actual bad. I think he gets that from. I mean, maybe it's just his own thing, but he worked with Nick Cage as well, so in Matchstick Men, which I think was great for his career. But he probably saw the work ethic in Nick. No matter what, I'm gonna give it my all. I can't help how it turns out, but if one thing you can say after watching this movie, that guy gave it his all, and that's the feeling I get from Sam with everything he does. But my favorite part with Sam in this movie is his interactions with Clancy Brown.
Yeah.
You know, I love that. I love the friendship they were building. I wish it could have went longer, but unfortunately, they killed off Clancy. So, but he's the one that actually was teaching him how to shoot. So
this movie was directed by John Favreau,
yeah,
and so this was 2011. So this is in the midst of his Marvel stuff, right? So is it
yeah. This
Marvel
is like,
12?
was this? I believe this was right after he done Iron Man 2. Like
Okay.
right after.
Yeah, it says the director of Iron Man. So they're still marketing with Iron Man. Uh, John, listen, I think it was an interesting concept. Uh, what I think would have worked better if you want to do a Cowboys and some type of movie. Aliens would have been fine if they would have made the aliens a little bit more interesting. But I would have loved to see Cowboys versus zombies and the same movie with the same characters, but they kind of instead huddled into the same town. They're trying to survive a zombie attack,
Yeah,
you know. And so it's Harrison Ford and Daniel Craig and Sam Rockwell and Tom Clancy, not Tom Clancy, but uh,
Clancy Brown.
Clancy Brown, yeah. Uh, in in the same type of scenario, Paul Dano as well, same type of scenario, but with zombies, but but strictly secluded in the town, and they're trying to survive for some reason, or vampires or something. I think it'd be real. It'd been a really cool. It'd been a really cool film. A very much, I think, even more interesting film. And I would love to see how Harrison Ford would respond it to zombies or vampires versus aliens. You know,
Yeah,
and them trying to rely still having to rely and him having to deal with his prejudice to Native Americans and had to get help from the Native Americans eventually to help fight the whatever we're fighting, you know?
yeah. I
So,
do agree with you on the monster aspect. Zombies would have worked better. Vampires would have worked better. I even think werewolves would have worked better.
Mhm.
And they could have even thrown in a little of the Indian folklore there. You know, depending on what
yeah,
type of werewolf you want to talk about, or even vampire.
yeah,
I
they
just
what's they called? Not the Winnebago. What's they called? That
Wendigo
Wendigo. Yeah, Wendigo.
or one of those. You know,
Yeah,
it would have aliens on like a mainstream just don't work as well. I don't think. Like I mean, I know we think Independence Day and that's great, but what's the others big alien films besides Alien and Predator? You know what I mean? Like we don't really have it. At least I don't. I can't think of the top of my head. So I think I would have loved a Western horror subgenre movie compared to a Western feeling like it's in a comic book movie with aliens.
yeah. This movie was released July 29th, 2011. Uh, so it was supposed to be that summer blockbuster.
Yeah.
But, you know, like, it's hard. What Independence Day did was lightning in a bottle.
Yeah,
You
it really
know,
was.
because it just happened. It came out. It was a big budget. Was it Jerry Bruckheimer? Is that Jerry? Uh,
I want to say so. I want
uh,
to.
it just felt big. Like I remember watching the movie, and watching the movie just felt big. It felt bigger than you know. It,
Yeah,
it felt like
it made Roland Emmerich the director he is today, and still lives off of this movie. So you know, even though I don't feel he's a great director. I feel like he knows how to do these disaster type movies, but that's about it. But yeah, I mean, look, it was lightning in a bottle, and as I don't think we've had it since. They've tried with other, films, but nothing has hit the alien subgenre like Independence Day. Nothing comes
Yeah,
close.
yeah. Well, and see, Independence Day is not only it's the alien sci-fi action subgenre. Because
Yeah,
it's action packed. It's science fiction. It's got some horror elements to it. Uh, like with the doctor, and he had that thing around his throat. The
yeah,
alien had him, and speaking through his voice was
hmm
very it was very horror like.
yeah.
Uh, and it had comedy, and it had Goldblum. It's hard to
It had great characters.
it had great characters. Like just think about the people that's in that film. And this movie had great actors. Great, it should have worked on paper. It worked. I think that the execution, and I would say the execution was too short of a movie. It should have been longer. It
Yeah,
was
I
more
agree.
to kind of flesh it out a little bit more.
Hmm.
But let me hear me on this. I don't think, for the most part, I don't think anybody in here did a terrible job at acting. Everybody was on.
No,
Everybody was
everybody's
on,
good.
and they were terrific in it. And I loved them in this. It's just that it fell short with some things.
Yeah, mainly for me, it's just the alien aspect. It's everything else seems to work just fine, but the aliens kind of messes up the. I don't know if I want to say the formula of this movie, but it just fell out of place for me. Once they show up, it just comes a different type of movie than what was presented. Like I love the mystery idea of Daniel Craig trying to figure out who he is in this western town, and I love Harrison Ford being looked at as this really feared man. Um, I would have preferred just straight up western. Honestly, I felt you had the characters to pull it off. You had an interesting, really interesting character with Daniel Craig. A very interesting villainous type character with Harrison Ford. If you were to go that way, that he just full blown becomes a villain. Um, I would have loved it. I would have loved seeing where it went. But when you bring the aliens in, it just kind of messed up its chemistry. I don't know. It just something fell off after that invasion, that attack.
You know what would have been really cool too? If you mentioned it, and it makes sense that if had they played it as if Harrison Ford's character turned out to be villainous, you know, uh,
Yeah,
it would have been interesting because we Harrison hasn't played a villainous character as much. Like in What Lies Beneath, he was revealed to be like a villainous.
yeah.
You've seen that, right? I'm not.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
no, I seen it when it came out. Yeah,
Yeah. So he was very villain. I think like we didn't know that he was the villain until the end. There was a good little twist uh, to that, but yeah, we don't see as much of him as a type of. So I was excited seeing him and I forgot he was in this movie. Seeing him in the movie and seeing him like a bad guy, and I was like, oh, and I got excited. I was like, I'm interested to see Harrison Ford as a villain. It'd be kind of cool.
yeah,
Like it's like wrestlers, man. They enjoy playing babyface, but man, when they get to be a heel, it's so much fun. You can look at Chad Gable. You can tell he was having fun being a heel. You know, like you have fun. It's a fun thing to do. So
I mean, you just asked Dwayne how much fun it
oh
is.
oh he's loving it. He's loving it. It's got to be fun. It's got to be fun being a heel. But yeah. I'm ready. You ready for your mark?
Yeah, yeah. I'll go first since I think mine will be a little lower than yours. Uh, I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 5. It's an entertaining ride. You'll love the characters. You'll love the town. It's the alien aspect for me that kind of puts a halts
Mm-hmm.
things a little bit. But ultimately, it is an entertaining movie. You just got to enjoy the ride. Even in the bumpy moments, you just got to get to the finish line, and I think you'll at least feel you were entertained.
What'd you give it?
3 out of 5.
All right, I'm gonna give it 3.5 mark out of 5. A little higher. It's not a perfect film, but it's the perfect cast,
Yeah,
and the cast, nobody phoned it in. I felt everybody had fun with what they were doing. It's just that it didn't translate into it, and it's unfortunate because you see that sometimes movies that supposed to be like hits, but it just doesn't stick the landing.
yeah,
Uh, or is not well received. But sometimes they come back later to be cult classics. I can't say that this is one of them, but uh, I had fun with it. But but yeah, it had it been longer or had it been a different type of subgenre, whether like we said, zombies, monsters, something else, uh, it'd been even more fun, and I would have
yeah.
loved it more.
I do think zombies works the best in a situation like that, where people that normally wouldn't work together have to work together. I think that just fits zombie genre to a T. But yeah, I mean, I feel it would have worked better, but at the same time, I feel like this movie would have worked just fine if it had been longer. If they let John, flesh out these characters, flesh out the story a little bit. But unfortunately, probably the head studio producer he butted in probably and wanted certain things to go his way. I would say that's what happened.
Mm.
It was his issue with Marvel. He later revealed he doesn't want to direct another Marvel movie because they butted. They wouldn't let him make the movie he wanted to make. You know, which we've heard that from Marvel for years. So, and DC's even worse. So, but yeah, I mean, you see the potential here with this movie, though. It had enormous potential. So it's still an
If
entertaining ride, though.
if it was a movie with these people in this town's loved ones was captured and taken by someone, and now these people that wouldn't work together had to work together to fight a new enemy that they're not accustomed to. Uh, it could work uh, if it even if it wasn't aliens, if it was something like I'm trying to think of something else that could be like out of left field that can just like start stealing people and they gotta track them and find out where they are with their loved ones. Um, I don't know. I can't think of another aspect because that's the whole point of this one is these people wouldn't have worked together in any other scenario, but they had to work together because of a common goal. Um,
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been long enough that a remake could possibly happen, and they could fix what didn't work here. But I
oh,
still
what,
would do a
what do you
TV
think?
show though.
Yeah, what do you think about the? I want to ask you this. What do you think about the way the alien spaceship lassos people and takes them and drags them off?
I like that aspect. I did because it's like that felt like the West. Like when you think of the Wild Wild West, lassoing people, and I felt that was like a callback to the perception of the Wild Wild West. But I liked it. I liked that aspect from the aliens. It gave them a little personality. It just didn't beam their light down and bring them up. It lassoed them into their spaceship.
Yeah.
It was a fast ride.
Speaking of Lasso, Rebel Moon 2 is coming out on Friday.
Yes,
Did you see Rebel Moon 1?
I did. I liked it enough to watch the sequel,
Yep.
but I didn't like it as much as Cowboys and Aliens. Even though I gave it the same score, I gave it a 3. That movie's
It feels like Star Wars. It feels like Star Wars. It feels like Seven Samurai, which is based off Star Wars. Well, no, Star Wars is based off of Seven Samurai, which is all based off of Magnificent Seven is based off of Seven Samurai. So everything. It just felt like that movie. The idea of a town fighting this villain, and literally in Rebel Moon, it's space Nazis. They're fighting literal space Nazis. The space
yeah.
Nazis. Uh,
Yeah,
but yeah,
I get that it feels like it's a bunch of movies wrapped up in one and not anything about its original, which,
I
maybe
mean,
it's,
I'm okay with it. I'm okay with like other things other than Star Wars, but it's like it copied off of the Star Wars homework paper and changed the name on it. Like, yeah, there's even lightsabers in there somewhere, but
yeah,
sort of.
there is. I mean, it's not an actual lightsaber, but it's kind of more like for the trailer, it felt more like it was Darth Maul's saber.
Mm-hmm.
It's got 2 lights at the end. I don't know the terms for these things. I'm not a big Star Wars guy, so I don't know. But I definitely feel the Star Wars, and that's okay. I mean, if maybe it's his love letter to
Lucas.
Lucas subgenres like that, but also kind of a Western feel. Maybe it's just his weird love letter to what he loved as a child. I don't know. Zack Snyder gets he gets crapped. He does. He gets hated on.
I would say this. I would say that Zack Snyder's best film to me is his cut of Justice League. Is literally the best thing.
Yeah.
Didn't he do the Dawn of the Dead remake?
Yes, that's personally. I've changed my opinion on that.
Do you don't like it as much now?
No, I love it. I think it's my favorite zombie movie. It was always Night of the Living Dead, the remake, because for many years I never saw the original. I still prefer the remake because I like the main girl in the remake. I hated the main girl in the original. She just screams and she's scared all the time. But the girl in the remake has some growth. But yeah, I rewatch it for every Halloween now, and I'm like, yeah, this is a great remake. This is a great zombie movie in general.
It's my. I'm gonna go ahead and I would venture and say this is just my personal opinion. It is my favorite zombie movie, and I know that's sacrilege because I'm a huge George Romero guy.
Yeah.
But it's he took George Romero's concept and said, "How can I just put it on steroids?" And that's what he did, and it made it a better movie, in my opinion, because George's stuff was a lot slower pace.
It was.
But I would say Dawn of the Dead, and then Return of the Living Dead, and if I had to say a third zombie movie, would be Shaun of the Dead would be my third one. Those are my favorite top 3 zombie films.
Mine would be Dawn of the Dead remake, Night of the Living Dead remake, and Zombieland.
I forgot about Night of the Living Dead remake. I forgot about that.
I don't like it as much now, but as a kid, man, I loved that movie. That was it for me. It's what made me fall in love with zombies. That and Resident Evil video game. But yeah, that's what made me fall in love with him. So I mean, I'm not the biggest George Romero fan. I know that's sacrilegious. You've told me, other people have told me, never say that in public. But I do respect what he did create.
Yeah, if it wasn't for George, we wouldn't have the zombie genre like we do today.
No, we wouldn't.
But
I do respect where it started.
But and that's kind of like the same idea with Spielberg, although Spielberg is Spielberg. But when it comes to Jaws, like if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have the shock genre like that.
No.
Even though now it's gotten crazy, but everybody's trying to make their Jaws. But Spielberg would have told you he hated making his Jaws because he had so much shooting issues, on the set. But it's a masterpiece of a film. But George Romero, I think he should be. And I got to meet the guy. He should be commended for his work in the zombie genre. If it wasn't for George Romero, we wouldn't have The Walking Dead. We wouldn't have those things. We wouldn't.
And he hated that show, didn't he? Didn't he hate The Walking Dead?
I think he hated The Walking Dead. But like think about the people that was influenced and got their start. If it wasn't for George Romero, we wouldn't have Greg Nicotero. We wouldn't have who did Friday 13. I see his face.
You saw it, director?
No, makeup.
Tom Savini.
Yeah, and then Tom Savini also did the makeup at Night of the Living Dead, and I think directed the remake of the Night of the Living Dead. He might have directed.
I know he did the makeup for Dawn.
I know he did the makeup
in it.
I think he did the makeup. I think he might have directed the Night of the Living Dead remake. One with
1990. Yeah, he did.
Yeah, which is an excellent film. I love it. It's scarier. I'm gonna say this. It's scarier than the original.
Yeah. I love Tony Todd in that movie. That was my introduction to Tony, and I've been a fan ever since. I love the character Ben more than I do Candyman, which probably again sacrilegious.
I like Candy. I like Candy, but
I love Tony. I do.
They did my Candyman dirty though. But yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's now. Let me ask you this, and then we'll end. Have they had him in the remake of Candyman more, and not just a CGI version? Mm-hmm. How would you feel about Candyman, or have you always felt that way about the Candyman character?
No, I love him as Candyman. It was my whole reason for wanting to see the whatever it is, remake, whatever, reboot, whatever. It's not. Yeah, it's not really a remake, but because it does follow some parts of the original. But if he had been in it, like really in it, and this new guy was he was passing the torch, like if it was a real torching of past here, I would have loved it.
Yeah, that's what I think. That's where they messed up at. I think that instead of having, and this is just real quick, instead of them having the guy, whoever that guy was, as Candyman, that was the one haunting him,
mm-hmm.
or becoming the Candyman, like you see in the mirror or whatever. Instead of it being him, I would have loved it to have been Tony, even the older Tony Todd, because he still, for his age, looks good. And it could have been an older Candyman. That's okay. And just that he's passing his torch to this younger Candyman, and then by the end of it, we have a new Candyman, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, me too. I would have been fine with it. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I love seeing him, even if it was CGI, because if you did a Candyman film without Tony Todd at all, it should have been nothing but backlash.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, he did so much, for the Black community in horror. I mean, how could you not show support, especially coming from Jordan Peele? and what he wants to give more black people a chance to act and to shine, to be stars. So I was very surprised they went in that direction, not to showcase Tony one last time, like really showcase him, give him his swan song as his character. It made me sad because I've met him. I know how excited he was about a future Candyman. Like we literally had like a 10 to 15-minute conversation. If you meet these actors, you don't get that long with them. But he talked and talked and talked to me, and he was so excited. So it breaks my heart that he didn't get that.
That's what's so amazing about meeting some of these guys. Like I said, with George Romero, I got to meet him. Thank you, Smitty Hines, who let me sit in on the interview with him. But I got to meet him and ask him questions while he's been interviewed. Picking his brain about certain things, and just really getting to hang out with George Romero and
Yeah.
the real it was sitting at a table talking to George Romero, or me sitting at a table right next to Mick Foley selling merchandise for Mick. It's just like, or sitting at WKU, standing next to a wall talking to John Carpenter while he smokes a cigarette about the Lakers. It's just like things that, because I was there and I was like, I want to talk to him about, not because everybody probably goes with Halloween. I was like, what do you think about the Lakers? What's going on with the Lakers? This is when Kobe was in trouble, and I was like, what's up with that? You think he's gonna be all right? He said, oh yeah, he's gonna be all right. And then we started talking about the Lakers basketball and stuff, just like really cool. And I'm talking, and the whole time I'm thinking, I'm talking to John Carpenter.
Yeah.
It's like cool. But yeah, man. Hey, this has been the episode about Cowboys and Aliens. Brandon, what do we want the people to do?
Well, if you like this episode and you want to see more, click that like, subscribe, and comment, and share the Mark Out Movie Podcast.
Next week, you said that we may or may not meet, right? Depends on
Yeah.
If we do, what do you want to pick? Or you want to put it?
Okay, it's leaving Netflix soon. So how about Kindergarten Cop?
Okay.
I just saw it last night. It was leaving. Like I had no preparation to pick anything, so
that's fine.
It's on top of my head.
Yeah, that's fine. And then I think the next time around, I'm going to pick Rebel Moon 2.
Okay.
So be planning for that. But all right. Well, also, and we can go ahead and end it. We thank you for listening. I just want to ask you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Aaron Whitlow.
Brandon Spivey.
We are the Mark Out Movie Podcasters. Thank you for marking out with us.